Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Spiritually Speaking. I am Dee, and today I have my beautiful friend Sheryl with me as a guest. Sheryl is a card reader and intuitive. Welcome, Sheryl. Thank you so much for saying yes to my invitation today to be my guest.
Oh, this is awesome. And I'm so grateful. Thank you, Dee.
You're very welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. And I know that we had some messaging back and forth, and you had some topics that you wanted to cover that you felt were
Mhm.
important for today. So we're just going to dive right in, and we'll be sharing with you in just a second. Hang on there. All right, let's go, Sheryl.
All righty. So today, for a topic of discussion, I wanted to come up with something that we all experience as human beings. And that is learning how to deal with expectations and acceptance. And I feel like we all have expectations. And something I learned along the way that makes so much sense to me is expectations are premeditated resentments. And
Oh,
when you start to put that on other people, for instance, I've got a big 60-year-old birthday coming up very soon. And I wanted nothing more to have my daughter and my granddaughter here. And they were all excited. It's Halloween weekend. They're coming. And I'm like, I just want family and food. Well, then I find out they're not coming. And started to get depressed. And I thought about this and I'm like, wait a minute. And I kind of went there and I said some things to my granddaughter, kind of manipulative. Why?
mhm.
Because I have an expectation.
Right.
Now, what am I going to do? Say, I'm going to have a terrible birthday because they're not coming? Or am I going to have a good birthday because it's a choice that I can make to change the way I'm looking at it? That was
Yes.
my expectation that they were going to be there. And then what? I'm going to have resentment towards my daughter because she doesn't show up? No. She told me with plenty of time. So I was like, fine, well, maybe you can FaceTime me. I'd be really happy with that. Absolutely. And that's my way of trying to get around trying to deal with my expectations. I had to accept the fact she wasn't coming. So there's that sense of acceptance through expectation. And then there's another little segment that I thought of, acceptance, expectations versus something that you're in alignment with.
Right.
And now, can you expect something? No, it's not an expectation because you want something to happen. It's a belief. It's a feeling you have on the inside of yourself of knowing.
Yes.
And that's where your alignment comes from. Or at least that's how I understand it. When you
Mhm.
know that you're worthy of whatever it is you're wanting, then you draw it to you because you already have it. It's already part of you. But
Right.
you're not trying to change something outside of yourself. People, places, and situations and things. We have no control.
Mhm.
So like we all have expectations. And yet we get upset when they're not met. And this
Mhm.
is such a human way of looking about things. And, and we look at triggers and we just kind of mentioned that briefly.
Yeah,
And
before we started, we sure did.
so did. And triggers are, I look at it, it's kind of something being changed between, what am I writing here? Control and defiance. So you have people that want to control everything. These control freaks, these type A personalities. And then you got the people that they come and butt heads with because they're defiant. No, I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it my way. And again, it's what can we change? What can we not change? And if we're not having expectations, we should lower the amount of triggers that we have. And one of the things I've done, and I'm trying to work on this, is not to take things personally.
Right.
And I do. And I'm trying not to. And it's like people are people. We
Mhm.
can't control what somebody else does. We can't control, you know, we can't control anything other than how we are going to respond or react to
Yeah.
any situation out there.
Yeah.
So, you know, part of dealing with that is, something else I've heard fairly recently is let go or be dragged. And how many of us, we hold on to things we don't want to let go.
Oh my gosh, Cheryl, that is so great. I mean, And I'm really great at visualizing things. So when you said that, I like completely saw that picture in my brain. So, but it is very true. We get so attached to the way we think things are supposed to be. And the fact of the matter is, if we loosen our grip and just allow room for flow, a lot of times things work out way better than we thought they could, even, you know. And I always like to say you can't out creative spirit, and every single thing works out exactly as it's supposed to, even if it doesn't always feel good for us in the moment. So it'll be really interesting to see how your birthday works out for you, because you allowed room for this movement and you relinquished your hold on that attachment so that it didn't drag you where down into the muck and the mire, so that you didn't even get to enjoy your birthday at all. So it's really going to be interesting to see what happens now that you've opened up the opportunities for all of these possibilities to come in.
Absolutely. And, I'm not going to say it doesn't hurt a little bit. I'd lie. It does hurt, but it hurts less when you can put it in the right place.
Mhm.
And it's a sense of perspective. And
Yeah.
I asked my daughter, I said, do you think maybe you guys can come down after Thanksgiving or around Thanksgiving? Because my granddaughter will have a little time off from school. She's like, you know what? I'm going to look into that. I think I might be able to do that.
Yeah.
That's huge to me. That's like, wow, okay, so you may not be able to be here on the actual birthday, but the fact that you can come in my birthday month,
Right.
that's absolutely. And you know what? I can't hold on to that because there's a chance it may not happen. And I
Right.
need to be okay with that too.
Right. Well,
So,
and you and I had had a previous phone conversation where we discussed how we put so much attachment onto something, these conversations or these visits happening on a particular day,
mhm,
whether it's our birthday or Christmas or Mother's Day or whatever the day is, right? And does it really truly mean more than it would on, say, like a random Tuesday?
mm-mm,
A random Saturday, like we treasure those moments with our family and our loved ones so much that do we really need to put that attachment onto that particular day? Or can we just enjoy those moments when they come?
absolutely. And I think it's a really, really big deal. It's like living life on life's terms. We can't change what's going to happen.
Yeah,
We can decide to be miserable or we can choose to be happy. I'm
right.
much happier being happy.
Yes, it's so much
You
more
know,
enjoyable, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And you got to have a little down on the dumps. So it shows you, again, there's the opposites of understanding
Mhm.
that if you're never down, then how would you know how good it feels to be so up or working on that space of enlightenment?
Mhm.
And I'm not going to say I can stay there, but I've kind of peeked at it a little bit, and it's a good place to be. And I'm trying to really practice the attitude of gratitude,
Yeah,
even when things don't work out in my favor. Why? I don't see the whole picture. We
right.
have a higher power, spirit, whatever you want to call it, God. I mean, there's so many different names, but there's something more than me that's in control. I'm not it. So if I can relinquish the control and live life on life's terms, I'm going to be a happier person just in general.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
oh my gosh, something else I wrote in one of my books that somebody said somewhere along the line that said, all love ends in a tear. And I thought that was so profound. It's simple, but it's true. Because again, if you love somebody and you lose them, would you rather have had them in your life? Or would you rather just never did because you didn't want to feel the hurt?
Right.
And I've seen that with people with pets as well. Oh, I'm never going to get another animal. Oh, it was too much. It's like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, and again, that's me judging somebody else and being, how dare you be that selfish? There's too many animals out there that need a home. So there's so many different ways of looking at it, but I really need to stop judging others and stay in my own lane. And sometimes
This
that's
is
not
really
easy to do.
raw, Cheryl. This is really, really raw.
Well,
It is. And I appreciate you being so vulnerable and sharing so openly about things that so many people struggle with on a daily basis. And one of the things that I would like to say at this point, because I just had this conversation with another person in my life
Mhm.
that's very important to me. And, we have created this space where it's not okay to feel our emotions in society. It's a societal dictate. It's not a personal thing, but we become very uncomfortable when people get upset or they're crying or they're angry. Even if they're managing their anger well, we get a lot of times very uncomfortable because,
Mhm.
there's this, you know, intensity of emotion happening. And we've made it, one of the phrases that goes around a lot these days, it's okay to not be okay. And it bugs me a little bit, Sheryl, when people say that. And the reason why is because just because you're sad doesn't mean you're not okay. You know,
Exactly.
if your dog died, you get to be sad. That doesn't mean you're not okay. It just means you're sad because your dog died. You're allowed to feel that feeling and still know that you're okay. You're just sad about this thing. So I think we really need to be careful about qualifying everything as not being okay just because we're feeling emotion, so
True.
I'm really happy that you brought up this topic for us to talk about, because I feel like it's really important for people to know that we get to feel our emotions and it's okay. And we are still okay most of the time.
Mhm.
We're still okay, Sheryl. I mean, there's times when we're not and we need some more, help, professional
Absolutely.
help with that, but most of the time the majority of us are okay. We're just feeling emotion.
So true. And I mean, talking to a totally, I typically react on my emotions. And what I'm learning to do, again, is pause. Literally pause. They say do nothing and do it often, because doing nothing is actually doing something.
It is.
And if you're dealing with a situation where somebody is maybe a little irate or angry or just, if it even has nothing to do with me,
Yeah.
you walk in or you're in a space and you can just feel it. And you can get yourself out of that space if it's possible. Um, just try not to take on something that somebody else is feeling. Now, for instance, if I'm okay, it's okay to not be okay. I mean, there's issues with that as well because self-care plays a big role in that. So let's just say, for instance, somebody's dog dies. I mean, I've had a 20-year-old cat. I'm kind of freaking out because she's not doing great, not doing bad, but it's like every day it's like, is it today?
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, you try to prepare yourself and be like, well, this is going to happen. Well, am I going to just be sad or am I going to spiral downwards and not take care of myself and not eat and not take a shower? And at that point, you're not really okay.
Right.
I mean, it really depends upon. So I see your point with, yes, you can still be okay and be sad, or still be okay and still be angry, but then you can actually not be okay.
Right. Exactly.
That's
And
what
that's what I
you do
said.
those
Yeah.
things.
There's a time when we need that extra professional help. But most of the time, that's not the case. Most of the time,
Right.
when you're in just you're not, you don't have a diagnosis of like severe depression or something like that. Most of the time, as an ordinary, situation, it's just a sadness and we're still
Mm.
okay. There is a line, and that's why I wanted to make sure that people understand. I'm not saying everyone is okay all the time. That's not what I mean. I'm just saying we've made it so commonplace that it's like these emotions aren't even allowed to happen without us feeling like we need to go to a doctor and get a pill or whatever. There are times when that's necessary. I'm not saying it's not, but I think that we need to give a lot more room to allowing, I feel this, I don't think it, I feel it, that we need to give a lot more room to being able to have and process these emotions and know that it's just a normal part of life. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with us, you know?
Absolutely. And one of the things that I think is kind of interesting, and I saw it on a TV show, and I've also read it, is this too shall pass.
Mhm.
Whether it's something difficult or something easy or something loving, life is not meant to stay on a straight line.
Right.
You're gonna have your ups and your downs, and that's how you appreciate your ups when you're down. And that's
Yeah.
that sense of attitude of gratitude, because even lessons in life that can be challenges can turn into blessings with the right attitude.
Oh,
What did I
well,
learn?
and yeah, because the thing is that things play out And I mean, like, I just had a personal experience of this here recently, and I'm sure you have too. And then we all have if we think about it, where this thing doesn't work out like we think it's going to. And we really had high hopes and we like saw the vision of it and all of these things. And then all of a sudden it's gone, and you're like, oh, now what? And then you're shown, if you allow it to happen, you're shown these amazing ways where it's actually better that that thing didn't
Mhm.
work out for you, because now it opens the path up for this even more amazing thing to happen and come into your life. And it wouldn't have happened that way if this thing hadn't fallen apart.
Right.
I just did a video about, lessons from our fellow humans on my mindful musing series, because and it talks about that very thing, how things crumble and fall away. And it is immensely uncomfortable sometimes. It makes us sad. There's grief associated with some of this stuff that goes on.
Mhm.
And if we allow ourselves to zoom out and, like you said, look at the bigger picture, we'll see that the amount of possibilities that just opened up for us is like
Amazing.
incredible.
It's like as you're talking, I got the visual of the tower card,
Yeah.
and it's true because, people look at that and go, oh my God. It's like, no, wait, something you thought was going to work out. Not I mean you in particular, but whoever. And then all of a sudden it crumbles down. You learn the truth about it. And
Yeah.
now it opens up so many more possibilities. So I just had this, as you're talking, this crumbling down of this tower so that something more amazing can be built in its place or something on that idea. So
Yeah.
that, excuse me. So that I thought was really interesting. Um, let's see here. Oh, another thing I wanted to bring up, which I thought was interesting, and I struggled with it for a while, and I think I've got it figured out. The difference between selfishness versus self care.
Yeah.
And I mean, I struggled with that for the longest time because people always told me that I was selfish. What is selfish? Somebody that wants to do something for themselves, be in a good space, take care of themselves. I mean, and I'm not saying put me ahead of you type of selfishness, but I'm talking about I don't want to answer the phone right now. I don't feel like it. Or I'm going to take a long shower because I want to. Or I'm going to go for a walk or whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's a sense of self care where, I mean, somebody else would be like, oh, it's all about you. Well, isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, this
In
is
this
my life,
moment, it sure is. Thanks for
you know?
recognizing that.
So, I mean, yes, I mean, there are things to have compassion and be care and loving towards others, but never forget yourself as part of the others because you
Right.
yourself deserve. I mean, everybody's so willing to treat somebody else like a king or queen,
Yep.
but how do we treat ourselves?
Exactly.
And I mean, I get guilty. I get caught up in, you know, Facebook and memes and sayings and all this great stuff. But am I truly living it on a daily basis?
Right.
No. I mean, I try at times, and there are times I don't try. I mean, I'm being completely honest
Yeah.
that there's that person that I truly want to be versus the person that I am. So I have to make changes to get to where I want to be. And I'm okay with that, even if it's slow. We all work at our own pace at our own time.
Yeah. Yep. Things unfold exactly how they're supposed to. And sometimes we get very impatient with that. Our human selves is like, fuck this waiting. Let's do it right now.
Yep.
But it's true. I mean, sometimes it's slow and then sometimes it feels like it's in hyperspeed. I've been kind of in this accelerated timeline lately. So sometimes it's really, really fast and sometimes it isn't. And both ways are perfect and exactly as they're
Mhm.
supposed to be in that moment. But I love that you brought up the topic of self care, Sheryl, because it is something that's very, very important. We all need to give ourselves grace and give ourselves time to, like, if we need a nap, take a nap. If we need a walk, like you said, take a walk, or whatever it is that we feel like we need in that moment. And there are people who are going to look at that as selfish, and you know what, they're welcome to their opinion, Sheryl. They're
Absolutely.
welcome to it, right?
Oh,
They get to
mhm.
have that. The thing about it is, this is how I feel about it, it enables us to recharge ourselves and be able to put our best foot forward. So, like, are you going to be upset because I took a nap? Or would you rather me stay up and I'm really tired and I get grumpy and then I'm snapping at you all afternoon because I'm exhausted and I just needed that nap that you didn't want me to take? You know what I mean? So it's giving yourself, and I love that you said, sometimes I don't feel like answering the phone. I'm the same way. I'll look at my phone and be like, not right now. I don't think so. I don't have the bandwidth for this right now. And it's not because I don't want to talk to that person or don't find them valuable. It's just simply because I just don't have the bandwidth to talk to someone else
Mhm.
right now because I just need the time alone just to be quiet. Or maybe I'm working through something inside myself that is very important for me to
Mhm.
grasp the meaning of or delve into a little deeper, whatever the case may be. So I'm extremely happy that you brought that up.
It's so important, and I think a lot of us forget.
Hmm.
Especially, there's a lot of people that are very emotionally triggered people, and I find a lot of these people tend to be caretakers of others, and it's easy to do that. It's so much easy, when somebody else is not doing well, to be right there to be the rescuer. But
Right.
then all of a sudden, stop burning the candle at the both ends. And it's like, oh, I forgot to eat today. Or,
Right.
I mean, it could be anything.
Yeah. And then
And
the next thing you know, you're sick and you need someone to take care of you because you didn't listen to your body or give yourself
Mhm.
time because there's this expectation that other people put on you when you're a caretaker that you need to do it in this certain way and be available all the time. And it's like this all the time. And then there's that expectation you put on yourself that you have to be relentless in your
Mhm.
caregiving and you're not supposed to take time for yourself. So I'm glad you brought up the caretaker aspect because I feel like it's really super important for caretakers to remember that they also need to take care of themselves because you can't do anything on an empty battery.
Nope.
You,
Well, they always say, what you get on an airplane, put the oxygen mask on yourself first
yes,
before others. So if your cup's not full on the inside, there's no way you can help others fully. You
yeah,
can't give them your best side if you're not full.
yeah,
So it's really important to take care of yourself. I mean,
yeah.
I just the woman that I had recently taken care of passed away.
Mm,
And that was hard because, I had my own health challenges. So the last few months, I mean, I would visit her, but I couldn't caretake her, being, wrist surgery, stomach surgery, broken ankle, like all this crazy stuff that had happened, which actually forced me in a position to have to take care of myself.
mhm.
And when I couldn't go for walks, I mean, we did that spiritual weekend, and no, I couldn't go to the beach and do the walks, but I was present. Like that just felt so good to get a little bit out of my comfort zone in a space when I'm like a little bit broken. And then, of course, dealing with that, then all these other things happen to kind of compile on top of it. So I'm kind of learning that I am important and I'm dealing with stomach issues. And I feel like that has to do with my nerves and how I process things. And where does it go? Right in my psychic center. And
Yep,
it causes chaos. So if I don't listen to my body when I'm hungry, when I'm tired, I'm angry, whatever it needs to be, like I can walk away. And then there was something else I think I wrote down somewhere along the line is there's no need to go to every argument I'm invited to.
that's right.
I mean, again, you can kind of be like, not my business. And it's a little big thing is what's my business and what's not my business. Anything outside of me is really not my business, no matter how angry I get if somebody says or does something to piss me off.
Right.
And speaking of a neighbor, right before I had come in, I had to do an errand this morning and I had come in and there was somebody walking by and she's like, there was a friend of hers that would sit and they would watch people go by and they would yell at people, you're going too fast, your dog shouldn't go to the bathroom there. I mean, it was all this stuff. And I was guilty about that too. And the yelling, and I'm like, it did nothing. Didn't help the situation.
Well,
It got me all fired up.
yeah,
Why? Stop and think about it. It's not my business. It's not, I don't like what they're doing, but that's not mine to control. If I was the
right.
manager of where we live or something, maybe differently, but that's not how I look at it. So it's really kind of taking responsibility for ourselves
Mhm.
and really letting go what we don't have control over, which is pretty
Yeah.
much everything. Getting stuck at every traffic light, dealing. You stop. People get really angry, with being cut off and all this other stuff. And what there was that author too, Mel Robbins or whatever her name was.
Yeah.
Let them. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Let people be people.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's so
and
funny. I was just giggling when you were talking about the traffic because I have a friend who calls me, and most of the time when she calls me, she's on her way to work. And she'll be like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's just stopping in front of me and he won't go." And like, and I start laughing. I'm like, maybe this is the universe's way of telling you you need to slow down.
yep,
Ah, all right, all right. Damn it, D.
so right on, so right on. And it's crazy, and it's like, why are we getting all upset? And it's like part of me thinks that there's a sense of
Hmm.
fear that somebody's not going to do something right, somebody's going to hit us, somebody. I mean, in driving or just in general. Um, when we get angry about something, stop and think about it. Are we nervous? Are we scared? Are we fearful? And then the acronym I found out for fear is false evidence appearing real.
Yes.
And, you can kind of look at that and be like, whoa, wait a minute. I can control my response and my reaction, but do I need to be all scared over something that usually doesn't happen? And I know for the most part, we live in our heads, and the stories that we tell ourselves are not necessarily things that are going to happen. And they're thoughts, and thoughts can change. Once you bring it out of your mouth, you may or may not be able to, probably not be able to take that back. But we have all these thoughts that can go on. And there's something else that, again, I made all my little notes over here. And I heard somebody say this a couple times. No amount of regret can change the past. No amount of worry can change the future. But any amount of gratitude can change the present.
Yeah.
And you start to think about that. And it's like, if you deal about the past caused depression, the future causes anxiety, but the present is actually a gift.
Mhm.
And I'm learning now how to be more present or not worrying, what am I going to say next? I mean, sure, I made a list of little notes and blurbs, but you know, it's um it's just being aware, I think. Being aware of what's happening around you, learning how to listen. But listen, what do they say? You have two ears and one mouth? Take the cotton out of your ears and stuff it in your mouth. I think somebody had said to me, and I'm like,
Oh,
oh.
that's funny. I haven't heard that one. Oh my.
So yeah, all these little acronyms and all these little things, but they make it easier to live life or to
Mhm.
live life on life's terms because I can't control that, but I can control me.
Yeah.
So my expectations of what other people are going to do means nothing. It's going to get me upset, but no one else is going to care.
Yeah.
So why am I stressing out over things that are beyond my control? And like you said, we both talked about, we don't see the whole picture. You
Right.
know, I mean, just as I drive around the construction, I start to get depressed and I'll turn up my music and usually something will come on, just breathe or something like that. And it's like, oh, yeah, I can't control that, but I can control my breathing,
Yep.
and I'm like, maybe there's a bigger plan, and, maybe, they won't tear down all of the Everglades. I mean, I just, from when we moved down here 8 years ago, when it was off the beaten path, now they're building highways and byways and they're changing the direction of the water. And I'm just like, what is, I see the look on your face. I'm like, and as I drive, I have two choices. I can look around and I can emotionally react, or I
Hmm.
can think about it and I can respond. What's going to make me happy right now? Turning up
Yeah.
my music, changing my focus, because I'll first look
Yes.
around and then I'm, at what's happening around me. Then all of a sudden the traffic becomes an issue. So you
Yeah.
start to build upon, we already know negativity causes more negativity, but
Yeah.
the positivity will cause more positivity.
Yeah, you can totally shift it because I had an experience yesterday. I spent some time with a girl that I used to work with when I was at
Mhm.
Walmart. She's a young girl and she's just so sweet and she's she's budding in her spirituality, which is absolutely amazing. She has a million questions and I love it. Like it's so amazing, you know.
Awesome.
But we spent some time and we went to Manatee Springs, which is she's even closer to it than I am. So I picked her up on my way and we spent some time there and it's absolutely gorgeous. And I don't know, we spent an hour and a half or two there. And then, we just took our time meandering around. It's not a huge park, but it's just absolutely gorgeous. And we went down to the Swanee River, and it was the first time that I ever saw the water there clear, which was a clear message from the universe for me personally, because it showed me that, yes, you do have clarity on what you think you have
Mhm.
clarity on right now. And even when you're used to it looking murky and like not clear, that is shifted and now it is clear and you can see straight through it. You have that clarity, and it was just such a beautiful message. And then we hung out there for a while, and then I said, have you ever been to Fanning Springs, which is another local springs in the area? And she goes, no. I said, well, do you want to go check it out? It's about 20 minutes away, 15, 20 minutes. She goes, yeah, let's go check it out. So we went over there and we finally found our way to the water because I'd never been there before. So, and neither had she. So we didn't know where we were going. So we finally found our way to the water. And Cheryl, I was so like, it depressed me because they took this beautiful place and they put barriers on all sides and made it look like a swimming pool. It looks
Ugh.
like a swimming pool. And I just could not comprehend why would you do that? And I told her, I mean, like I had these two warring emotions inside of myself. I'm like, anger, because as humans would do something like, whose idea was this? Like, let me have a chat with this person because why did you do this? And then the other part of me was like this depressed feeling, like I was angry and I was sad at the same time because it just was a violation of nature as far as I was concerned. So that's one of the reasons I reacted the way I did. I don't know if our listeners could see my face because I have it on speaker view right now, but that's why I reacted the way I did when you said that, because I saw in my mind what I saw at Fanning Springs yesterday.
Mhm.
And then,
Yes.
like I wanted to leave. Like I was like that upset. I just wanted to go back to the car and get in and just leave because I was so like upset about it. And then instead, what we decided to do was we decided to go on this boardwalk. We looked at, the diagram of what's in that area, how they
Mhm.
have a little map and on the stand sign that you can see. And we noticed there was a boardwalk. So I said, well, do you want to go on the boardwalk before we leave? And I was just like, like, I just want to get out of here, you know? But we went on the boardwalk. And as we walked out on this, there was a shorter part that went over to the Swanee River and looked out over it. And so we went out that way and we got up there and there was this enormous cypress tree. And she goes, and it was gorgeous. And she goes, how old do you think that tree is? I said, if I had to guess, I'd say it's about 1,000 years old because it's huge,
Wow.
huge, Cheryl.
And cypress trees are
And
not that big typically. I mean, around wise.
it takes
Wow.
them a long time to get that big. I mean, this tree was enormous. And so I said, I want to touch it. I was like, I have to touch that tree. We couldn't reach it from the boardwalk. It was too far out. And she goes, how are we going to get down there? I said, follow me. I already scoped it out. She's like, I'm coming. So we went back down the steps to the boardwalk and we walked like it was a little bit off the shore of the river. And we walked up there to where the cypress tree was. And I was like, I just have to touch this tree. And I put my hand on it. And then I just stuck my phone in my pocket and I laid my whole body up against
Oh,
the tree and put my cheek on it. And I just laid there, Cheryl, against that tree with my whole body, well, except for my feet, because my feet were out a little bit, so I could lean against it. And just laid there against that tree and just felt the energy of that tree in my body. And it just shifted everything inside me. It
yay.
shifted everything. And I actually took a picture of our hands on the tree, which I'm going to put up on my social media. Like I've got to do a post and I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel too. So look out for it. It'll be coming. Um, But I told my friend after we walked away, I'm like, I just feel gooey inside now. Like I just felt
Oh,
so calm and gooey. Like it erased all of that frustration I had, all of that anger and that sadness. It's like the tree just sucked it right out of me and replaced it with this calm, gooey feeling that just was so like I still even feel it a little bit today
I
because
can
it's
feel it
just
through the camera with you. I mean, it's almost like that tree's telling you, it's okay, I'm still here.
yeah, it was amazing. So like if you have not hugged a tree, go hug a tree. And then it was so funny. We walked down the long way, which would take us eventually to the stairs where we would go back to the car, but it had another little shoot off of the boardwalk that went out towards the water, and you could actually access the water if you went down
Wow.
that way. But there was another big cypress tree down that way. And it wasn't quite as big as the one that we had just loved all over, but it was very large too. I would estimate it somewhere around maybe 900 years old. It was a very large tree too. And I said, I want to touch that one too. And I said, I can reach it from the boardwalk. I have long arms. I'm going over there. So I walked over there and I didn't take a picture of this particular tree, but I walked back over there and I put my hand on it. And I'm standing there with my hand on this huge trunk of this beautiful tree. And I'm just talking to it. And then there was a couple young men in the water. And what I would say they're super late teens or early 20s. And one of them was being just so loud and obnoxious. Like he was just being obnoxious, you know. And I looked at the tree and I said, I bet you'd like to shove a root in its mouth, in his mouth. And Cheryl, just the energy that I felt, I started laughing and laughing and laughing and laughing. I told and my friend goes, I bet it wants to. And just like, cause I could just visualize the tree just popping a root in that kid's mouth. So
Mhm.
he would be quiet, you know, but it was so funny, just the feeling of amusement that I felt from even the tree about what I had said. It was just amazing. So I feel like it's really important for just us to allow these moments to come in and shift these
Mhm.
emotions that we have
Oh,
sometimes.
sure. And I think about the trees, and you bring that up just so in particular. And it's like trees are the best listeners there's ever been. They
Yeah.
stay in one spot and they grow and they get pushed around by the winds
Mm.
and all the elements that happen, but yet they a lot of times they'll bend and still stand strong, especially the older trees. The
Yeah.
wisdom that they have engulfed in them, the
Yes.
ability to be grounded when your mind is going through all this stuff. And you
Yeah.
think about the tree, it's in there. You've got this obnoxious kid in the water, and the tree's like, let him,
Yeah.
you know? And it's
Yeah.
so funny because, I think about that, and just like you, it's like, oh, yeah, whether it's a root or God knows what else, stuff something in his mouth, please. Um, the reality is, I mean, the fact that you were touching that tree and the tree just kind of it changed the whole perception just
Hmm.
because it's so grounded, it's so old, and your ability to receive the energy
Yeah.
is huge. And I mean, it's making me like, yes, as soon as I'm done, I'm going to go outside and go hug a tree because that's something that I don't do as often as I should. And, where I live, I mean, I kind of live on a slab, and yeah, we have a little bit of grass and stuff like that. So, I mean, just getting my feet in the ground. But I
Mm.
love the fact that there's all these springs up and around you, which is definitely on my bucket list as we head up the state because my husband and I have been talking a lot about going and spending time with the manatees. We have an anniversary happening in February. And it's like, and I laugh because it's the 9 year. It's like, numerology speaking, but that's okay. I mean, we all got to go through 9 to get to 10.
That's
And,
right.
but it's like, wow, just we just like I said so many times between health issues, his or mine, we've never made it up to the manatees. And
Hmm.
I know that's kind of around where you are. And that's just again, I'd like to make it as some sort of a plan that's open that can shift and change because otherwise it's an expectation.
Well, it's so interesting, Cheryl, that we were talking about this because I just listened to, and I feel like the universe puts these videos in my path for,
Mhm.
as a precursor to some of these conversations. But I was listening to a Greg Braden video this morning, and he was talking about a different way to pray. And and if you don't pray, you can call it meditation or intention or whatever. Let's not get hung up on the freaking word. Like, you know what I mean? Let's do it in a way. If you want to call it something different, then that's cool to make yourself feel better about it so that it doesn't feel so religious. Please do that for yourself. However, he's talking about a different way to bring things into your life through intention or prayer or meditation or whatever you want to call it. And it reminded me also of some of the things that Neville Goddard said about living from the end and seeing yourself there. So instead of having so much of an expectation about swimming with the manatees or being with the manatees, just see yourself there. Put that out into the universe. Show me what it would be like to be with the
Yes.
manatees, with my husband, and feel it, feel the water, feel the coolness of the air, and see the trees around and the blue of the water and experience it all, the emotions, because those are very mystical, magical creatures to me too,
Yes.
you
Absolutely.
know?
And that's the alignment part of it that I was
Yes.
talking about. You have your expectation, that's one thing. But when you align yourself with something, now you're living it. It
Now you're
becomes
living it.
part of what there is no expectation when you're already aligned with what's meant to be your purpose.
It's a knowing. It's just a knowing that it's already there. It's already happening. And it
Mhm.
is. It is.
Absolutely.
And that is one of the things that has been the hardest for me to understand because let's face it, Cheryl, when we're looking at our external circumstances, sometimes we don't leave room for ourselves to see that it's already different. Like we're like,
Yeah.
no, this is the physicality of what I see. So that's all there is. Our logical mind is like, no, there is nothing else but this thing. And if we just tell our logical mind to shut up,
Yep.
like I literally have said out loud in the past before I got, more comfortable and more belief in what I'm doing here. I've literally said out loud to my logical mind, you have got to shut up because I'm doing spiritual work right now. You've got to be
Oh,
quiet. I'm doing spiritual work because your logical mind is the one that wants to keep you in the 3D. And
yes, yes. 4D, 5D, there's so much more.
yes,
Don't limit yourself by your thoughts or what you, like you said, the alignment. For instance, my husband and I have been talking about we want to sell our place, we want to get a motorhome, and we want to travel. It's what we want to do next summer. Like this is, and again, health issues, life, just things get in the way, but it's like that's okay. It's still happening. We
yeah,
just can't force it to be in the timeline that we choose.
right.
It's going to happen when it's supposed to happen, when we're ready to do this. And I feel like that time is most like, I'm hoping anyway, will be like this season coming up. More people coming in, getting the house together. And again, it's going through things and getting rid of a bunch of stuff and putting stuff in storage and separating all of that stuff. And again, that causes me a little bit of anxiety. But what's the big picture? I want to
Right.
travel. I want, and my husband's like, it's taken so long. You keep talking about this. And I'm like, stop trying to put a limitation on
Yes,
when you want it to happen. It'll
yes,
happen when spirit says it's ready to happen. And I
right.
love the fact you brought up the idea of prayer. And prayer, it's really interesting. It's prayer, meditation. But I think with prayer, a lot of times you're speaking and show me this and asking for things. And
Mhm.
meditation, you actually keep your mind quiet and it's the listening. So one is you're projecting something. And then if you stop and listen, it kind of that prayer turns into a meditative type of a situation. That's my understanding of the words, but they can be
Well,
interchanged
and
depending
that's how
upon.
we've been taught to pray. And that's what Greg Braden was talking about with the way his friend, who is a Native American, went and did
Yes.
this prayer. And he asked him about it. He goes, because he was expecting, because Native Americans are a lot into the ceremony and they have
Mhm.
these traditional ways that they do things, which are really beautiful. But he said he just walked out into this sacred space. And I shouldn't have done that. He walked out into
No, but
this
I know you.
sacred space and he closed his eyes and he did this mudra over his chest and his bare feet on the earth. And he said, then it was only a few minutes, and he looked at him and said, hey, Greg, you want to go get something to eat? And he's like, what did, what? I thought you were going to pray. And he said, I did. And he said, well, I thought you were going to do this thing, or something. And he's like, what did you do? And he was talking about how he visualized,
Hmm.
and he smelled the rain, and he felt the mud on the ground beneath his feet, and he was living in the moment of it already happening, and that was his prayer. So it is a different way, because like you said, traditionally we are taught that prayer is asking for something, and just like, and then if we don't get it, we and let's face it, I don't know how I was raised Pentecostal, and that's all we did was pray. And like, but God didn't answer the prayer, or and then there's that song about, I thank God for unanswered prayer. But the fact of the matter is, if we learn to bring those prayers into the now and
Hmm.
experience those things and allow ourselves, just like for our own personal reality, like he was praying for rain for a lot of people, not just himself, because the land needed it, the crops needed it, all of the things. And he allowed himself to visualize that and feel it and be in it already,
Hmm.
living from the end as if it's happening right now, and that's what we get to do also with our personal lives.
I love that. And I mean, it makes so much sense. And it's so funny too, because again, I was raised without praying. I didn't really know how to pray. And I remember going sleeping over a friend's house, and they would like get on their knees and say this prayer before going to bed. And I'm like, I was raised Jewish. What do I was bat mitzvah. Like that was the big thing. And we would go, go to services, and sure, there'd be prayer involved with that, but it's not your typical prayer. So when I started to pray a few years ago, it could be as simple as help. And one of the things I actually, was talking to friends about this. It's, some people would say, well, I prayed for my son to get sober, my daughter to do this, and that, and you can be like, now you're actually asking God to do all these things, when it's more like, no, what is your favor? What do you have in plan for us? However, when somebody aligns themselves in the present moment, I do feel that's a little bit stronger, because now you're in alignment with what you're trying to accomplish
Mhm.
versus begging your spirit to do something that may or may not be in their will.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know like when my husband was dying, basically, I mean, there was lots of people that were praying for him. And just like anything else, when you have a majority of people praying on the same thing, I do feel that energy does reach out and it does change things.
Mhm.
But for one person to be like, going and be like, well, I want this and this and this and this, and it's like, okay, what is God's spirit? What do you see for me? This is what I want, you know. And one of the things I've learned is never ask for patience. You ask for the what would it be like to have a little bit more patience, or show me something, but you don't want to get stuck in really learning your patience, because what you're going to get is probably something you don't want, of learning patience. The manifestation of patience is a prayer to me. I stopped asking for patience.
Yeah, well, and my dad used to remind me religiously, tribulation worketh patience. So like if you're asking for patience, if that's what you're praying for all the time, how do you get it? How do you get patience? You have to go through the things that are going to grow your patience. So you're
Yeah.
asking for all of these things to happen so that you can get better at being patient. So, like that's definitely not something I pray for either.
And it's
I used to joke a long time ago. And when I said, I prayed for patience one time and I got two kids and a mother-in-law.
that is
Because kids will definitely test you there, even if you have good children, which I did. My kids were like, I'm very blessed. My kids were, I never had any major issues with my kids, gratefully.
right. Sure.
So I can't say the same thing about my my ex-mother-in-law. I had some issues with her, but anyway, it is something that we need to be mindful of. So it's again, I think we've covered these topics pretty well today. Do you have any last bits of wisdom that you would like to add, Cheryl?
The only thing that I wrote down, and that would be something I call the three A's: awareness, acceptance, and then action.
Mm,
And everything that we just kind of talked about, it's just kind of being aware of what's surrounding, accept what you can't change, and action, you can change yourself, you can change your attitude, or even inaction is
yeah,
action.
yeah.
So that's
And I
really
would
my
like to
final.
add the word aligned to your action. So aligned action, because it's really, really important, that we do the action piece. And this is
Mhm.
especially meaningful to me, that last word right now, Cheryl, because, and I'm going to get a little emotional about it, because I was shown this about myself in a very profound way here recently. And it's what's funny is I saw, and I called it lack of follow through with this other person. It was so obvious. Like I was seeing it like constantly. I felt like constantly was in my face, this lack of action, this lack of follow through. And I was like, God, it's just bananas. Like, why is there no follow through? Like what is happening? Or what is not happening? You know what I mean? As the case may be. And then one day, about a week later, I was, thinking about that very thing, like this lack of follow through. And it was almost like this, like just on repeat in my brain, that I had seen so
Mhm.
much of it. And then all of a sudden, it's like, like I felt the universe clear its throat. Hey, what's up? How about that lack of follow through? And I was like, me. I have
Bingo.
lack of follow through. So that's why I noticed it so much, Cheryl, in
Mhm.
this other person. I noticed this lack of follow through, and it was like it was so in my face. And and it made me so uncomfortable and so frustrated. And then when I was shown that in myself, I was like, that makes so much sense. It wasn't
Totally.
about that other person, it was about me. And it's
Mhm.
like, get that aligned action going. And it's been amazing how that has shifted everything in myself. So this is just a reminder for people to also, when they see things in someone else, take a look
Mhm.
at yourself and see if that applies too. Like, do you need to take more aligned action? Because I know that's where I was at with it. And
Perfect.
so I've shifted that. And
Mhm.
that's a beautiful thing, Cheryl, because like you said, you can look at it and then you can shift it in yourself. You know,
Yes. And it
we
all
get
depends, like,
to
don't take
change
it
it.
personal.
Yes.
But like you said, it's seeing it outside of yourself. And like with if you're pointing a finger, you got three more pointing back at yourself. So
That's
now,
right.
and how many people we judge because that's part of human nature. And then what we're judging, are we really judging them or are we truly judging ourselves?
Mm. And that's something we get to take a good look at. And it's uncomfortable sometimes. It
Yes.
really is uncomfortable, but it shifts everything exponentially
Yes,
because
it
it was
does.
so amazing. And then I followed it up with another like epiphany. Like it was, I think it was the next day, but time doesn't mean that much to me. So I'm not sure it might have even been the same day later in the day, but I think it was the next day. And I'm not in the most ideal of situations right now, but I have this beautiful property that I have access to. And Cheryl, it was like everything shifted in me. I was walking from one part of the yard to another, and I was like, what have I been doing? And now it's like, okay, now that I see that, it was like, and I was even like walking through the yard going, wow, wow, that's so amazing that I just saw that. Holy crap, that changes everything. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So it's incredible when we start opening ourselves up to seeing these things, how fast we get shown more and more and more. And
Yeah.
we're able to make these other shifts that just like it just cracks us open and allows us to expand.
Yes.
Just
And just cracking us
expanding.
open. I love that. because we're
Yeah.
not being broken, we're being broken open.
Right. There's a huge difference in those two things.
I love that you just said that. That's perfect.
Yeah. So thank you. Tell us the three A's again before we close out. I want everyone to really get those in their brains.
Awareness, acceptance, and action.
Yeah.
And aligned action if you're able, because that's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. That's gonna be the money right there for you, so to speak, and maybe literally the aligned action. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, this is amazing. So I'm really glad we had the opportunity to do this. And then one last thing I wanted to add to this, and so I heard somebody say this when somebody passed away recently, and it's never too late until it's too late.
Yes.
So take
Yeah.
that time and be aware and align. And there's so many more things to go on with that. But yeah, I think that's enough babbling out of me for this hour.
It was great, Cheryl. It was so great. Thank you for taking the time with us today. Don't disappear yet. I want to chat with you after we close out here. But
Absolutely.
thank you, everyone, for sticking through this hour with us. And I hope and know that some of this or all of this is going to be extremely helpful for you. If you know someone who you feel like would also benefit from hearing this message today, please share this with them. And if you feel so inclined, like, share, and subscribe. And I will have Cheryl's information in the description box below the video. So if you would like a card reading from her, she gives amazing card readings. I know that from personal experience. So if you would like a card reading from her, there will be contact information there where you can reach out to her and she can do that for you. So thank you all so much. I love you, each and every one, and I will see you on the next one.